You know that strange moment when the air in a room suddenly shifts. Like it's holding a secret you haven't uncovered yet? At exactly 9:02 a.m., I felt that shift. The door clicked behind me as I stepped into conference room 7C. Expecting nothing more than acknowledgement. My name is Mia Carter. I'm 36 years old, and for the past 6 years, I poured every ounce of determination, creativity, and sleepless night into Raven Analytics. I spearheaded emergency turnarounds, salvaged accounts others deemed lost, and convinced 3 major legacy clients to switch their loyalty to us. I wasn't asking for a miracle, just a fair raise. The room smelled faintly of stale coffee and tension. Across from me sat Grace, her posture rigid but familiar, once my closest ally, my Monday morning coffee companion. She helped me through my divorce. Next to her was Jason, the new VP, tall, smooth, arrogant, barely 3 months in the role. He opened a folder and said, "Let's begin." I braced myself for the usual script: praise, recognition, maybe a nod to my sacrifices. But instead, he said, "Mia, there's been a strategic shift. Effective immediately, you're being moved to client associate." At first, the words barely landed. Client associate. It felt like a punch straight to the gut. 3 levels down from where I'd built my career. My heart thudded loudly in my chest. But my face stayed calm. The mask I'd perfected over 6 years of corporate warfare. Grace shifted beside me, clearing her throat as if trying to soften the blow. "You'll be reporting to Denise from now on," she said quietly. Denise, my former trainee, someone I had personally mentored, who still struggled with the basics, like spelling, liaison. The irony cut deeper than any salary reduction ever could. Jason slid a sealed envelope across the table. "This isn't personal," he said without looking me in the eye. "It's just strategy." Inside, a new salary figure stared back at me, 35% less than my current pay. My fingers clenched into fists on the table's edge. Heat surged up my neck. I fought to keep my voice even. "I see," I said, voice steady but hollow. "That's all?" I stood slowly, managing a smile that felt more like a grimace. As I turned to leave, I felt something break inside me: belief, loyalty, maybe even hope. All left behind in that chair. The door clicked shut behind me. Louder this time, as if punctuating the end of everything I'd worked for. Outside, the air hit me differently. The sun was still low, but the weight of the morning crushed me. I didn't remember walking to my car, only the moment I collapsed into the driver's seat, hands trembling on the wheel. The sobs came silently at first, then with a force that stole my breath and blurred the rearview mirror. The navy blouse I'd carefully chosen that morning suddenly felt like a cruel joke. My hands shook as I reached for tissues. Missing the compartment, I had held it together in that room, nodded, smiled, stood, but now, alone, I shattered. I thought back to 2 years ago. The pro crisis. The client on the verge of pulling out. I had flown across the country with just 45 minutes notice. Slept maybe 3 hours over 2 days. And pulled together a multi-million-dollar recovery plan that turned their numbers around in 6 weeks. No one else wanted to touch that project. But I did it. Then last spring, Westfield's server crash, the day of my son's birthday. I promised cupcakes, balloons, a science show, but I was on a conference call when the crash happened. I missed the candles, the cake, the first time he cried about it. He was silent, no yelling, just tears. That memory stung sharper than anything Jason said. My phone buzzed. A message from Kara, one of the junior associates I'd mentored last year. "Hey Mia. Is it true you're off all the VIP accounts? Just heard from Ops. Thought it was a mistake." I stared at the screen. I hadn't resigned. I hadn't emailed anyone yet. But quietly, behind my back, they had reassigned everything without a word. Erased me. I didn't reply. I couldn't. I leaned back, eyes closed, and for the first time in 6 years, I felt like a ghost in the place I'd called home. The seatbelt dinged, but I had nothing left to buckle, only fragments of anger, disbelief, and a single, haunting question. If this is what 6 years earns you, what was I even holding on for? Hours passed like suspended time. By 11:15 a.m., I sat in the parking garage. Engine off, thoughts loud in the silence. My phone buzzed again. An email from Grace. Subject: Internal transition planning approved timeline. I assumed it was a courtesy. Maybe second thoughts. Maybe guilt. But when I opened it, I found a forwarded chain between Jason, Grace, and someone named Dale S., a director from HQ in New York. The line that squeezed my chest said it all. We finally neutralized her hold on the accounts. Grace confirms she won't push back. Neutralized, like I was a threat to be disarmed. A loose cannon to be silenced. Grace, my former confidant. My coffee friend. The woman who once cried on my couch after her breakup and called me her work soulmate, had confirmed she wouldn't resist. I scrolled down. Another reply from Dale. Perfect. With her out, we centralize control under Jason. Tell Grace she's done well managing the handoff. No risk of emotional fallout. And then Jason's message. Cold and clinical. Let's keep messaging neutral. Don't refer to her by name. Call her the asset moving forward. Not Mia. Not even she. Just the asset. I dropped my phone in my lap. Hands shaking uncontrollably. I looked out at the hazy morning light filtering through the garage. I should have deleted the email. I should have let it go. But I didn't. I forwarded the thread to myself and to one other person, Derek Lynn, Director of Client Relations and my last ally in that building. Because if I was an asset, they were about to learn just how dangerous an asset could be when activated. By 12:28 p.m., the tears had stopped. A strange stillness settled inside me. A muted clarity. The world hadn't changed, but I had. The air felt heavier, quieter. Even my heartbeat sounded deliberate. I drove home, showered, changed into a soft gray sweater that didn't belong to the woman they erased. I sat at my kitchen counter. Laptop open. Coffee untouched. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I typed a single sentence. To Jason, Grace, HR@ravenanalytics.com. BCC. Campbell. Westfield. Petros Corp. Rex Medical. Coretrax. Subject: resignation. Body: I will not be returning. Mia Carter. No anger. No explanations. Just the sharp precision of finality. I hit send. Then closed the laptop slowly, sealing something shut, something permanent. I didn't do it for revenge. Not yet. I did it to reclaim the only thing left to me, choice. The BCC list wasn't drama. It was professional courtesy. 5 clients who trusted me with their systems, crises, and secrets deserved to know I wasn't in the room anymore. But I didn't realize I'd included Grace in the BCC line. It was muscle memory. Years of late nights and project notes. The moment she saw it, she'd know, and she did. At 12:32 p.m., my phone buzzed. A message from Grace. Mia, can we talk? Please call me. I didn't open it. Silence was the answer now. I placed the phone face down and watched steam curl from the cold coffee. For 6 years, I'd been the fixer, the one holding it together. But now, I was done patching broken things that were never meant to serve me. This wasn't revenge, not yet. It was repositioning, and they were about to learn. Some exits don't slam doors. They whisper, and still bring the house down. The morning after my resignation email went out, my phone began to vibrate like a warning siren, persistent, relentless. I hadn't set an alarm, but my phone seemed determined to break through the fog of exhaustion and disbelief clouding my mind. When I finally blinked awake and reached for it, I froze. 38 notifications, texts, emails, calls, all flooding in like a tidal wave I wasn't prepared for. First came the texts. Jason's voice, cold but pleading. Mia, let's discuss this. Please don't make any rash moves. I'm happy to set up a meeting. Grace's message followed. You blindsided us. This isn't how I thought things would go. I never wanted this. HR's automated response. We've received your resignation. Please confirm your last working day for records. An unknown number pinged. Is it true you're leaving Raven Analytics? Then Campbell and Westfield. We weren't informed. If Mia is no longer handling our account, consider the agreement suspended. My breath caught. The fallout was moving faster and harder than I'd imagined. Emails from clients cascaded in next. Campbell's account manager sent a blunt note. If you're not our lead anymore, we are reevaluating vendor options. Please confirm this is a mistake. Rex Medical's director urged. Call me as soon as you're available. I don't trust what's being said internally. Cortrax's operations head echoed. We don't partner with companies. We partner with people. Mia was our person. You've chosen otherwise. I sat back, stunned by the rapid collapse of everything I'd built. The very foundation of trust I'd nurtured painstakingly over 6 years. Then a message from Arnold Lemitra, COO of Solanova, my most demanding and loyal client, landed in my inbox. Subject line. Just so you're aware. The body held a single line. We only work with people who treat their partners like people, not assets. Below was a photo. The sleek, polished lobby of Talos Strategies headquarters in Paris. Their assistant's hand was caught mid-action, holding a contract being printed. Talos, our fiercest rival. I had turned down 2 offers from them last year. The implication hit like a freight train. Solanova wasn't just walking away. They were already signing with someone else. I stared at the image, then back at my screen as another unread message appeared. CEO Raven Analytics. Urgent request to speak before this spreads further. It was surreal. Watching the storm I thought I'd walked away from swell violently without me. The boardroom dramas, the whispered betrayals, the quiet fractures, all unfolding without me lifting a finger. But I wasn't rejoicing, not yet. Too much was unknown, too much still at stake. One thing was clear. The moment I left that room, their version of the story crumbled. Every buzz on my phone was proof I was no longer the one being erased. They were. By 8:40 a.m. I'd read, reread, and archived over 20 emails. Then the call came. A direct line from Franklin Dwyer, Raven Analytics CEO. He didn't just call people, he summoned them. And when he did, it wasn't a conversation, it was a verdict. I answered, voice steady despite the storm raging inside. Mia, he began, voice thick with syrupy charm. I won't waste your time. What happened yesterday shouldn't have happened. You deserved better. Almost comical, hearing that from a man who'd never once addressed me by name in a single meeting. I want to fix this. He said, we're offering you a new title, Director of Client Trust. You'd report directly to me. My jaw clenched. He wasn't done. There's a one-time bonus, a generous package, and clean PR. We'll issue a joint statement if you want. You'll sign a brief NDA to protect all parties. You come back, and we reset. No Bryce, no noise. His golden escape hatch shimmered. But the varnish was too fresh, too forced to trust. I'm flattered, I said flatly. Franklin chuckled. Mia, come on. You've built something incredible here. You're a symbol to our clients. I'd hate to lose that. Lose that? Not me, I replied quietly. Lose the symbol. Lose the shield. There was a pause. If this offer had come before yesterday's meeting, I would have jumped, maybe cried, I admitted. But now, I exhaled slowly. I've made peace with stepping away. Franklin's voice dipped cold. Well, that's disappointing. No, I said, it's overdue. We hung up. Silence returned, but it felt different, no doubt. Just certainty. Barely 5 minutes later, an email buzzed from Aaron Wade, VP of Strategy at Talos Strategies. Subject: Quick connect today. Heard about the shift at Raven. Want to talk? 4 p.m. Manhattan office. Interested? Aaron Wade was a powerhouse. We'd met 2 years ago at a fintech summit. She remembered my daughter's name, my allergies, details no one else bothered with. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I grabbed my old leather notebook, the one with every major account detail I'd ever compiled. Not digital, not shareable, just ink on paper. Years of crises, solutions, trust points, things a job title could never replace. I opened the fridge, stared inside, and closed it. No appetite. Then I changed into something neutral but strong. I wasn't going for a job interview. I was going to evaluate power. By 10:15 a.m., I was halfway across Midtown, slipping into a small, unmarked cafe filled with the scent of ambition steeped in espresso. I scanned the room. He was already there. Micah Hale, Nexus Vice President of Strategic Development. 3 years ago, he tried to poach one of my core clients at a fintech conference in Miami. The second time, he underbid us by 10% and still lost the deal. The third time. I beat him before he even finished his pitch. We hadn't spoken since, but now he stood up and shook my hand. Mia, he said, voice warmer than I expected. This is long overdue. I smiled, polite but guarded. What's the occasion? He gestured to the seat across from him. An opportunity for both of us. I sat. The waitress placed 2 glasses of sparkling water on the table. Neither of us ordered anything else. We've been watching Ravens collapse. He began. Frankly, I'm amazed it took this long. I didn't react. Here's what we're offering, Micah said, pulling a small leather folder from his coat. Inside were 3 printed emails from my former clients, Petros, Rex Medical, Westfield. All asked the same thing. If Mia joins Nexus, please notify us immediately. We are willing to transition our accounts. Micah slid the folder toward me. 2. You've already built the loyalty. We offer the infrastructure to let you do it again without internal sabotage. I said nothing, but inside, something realigned. I hadn't chased those clients. I hadn't whispered or lobbied. They came on their own. They chose me. Third reason? I asked quietly. Micah leaned forward. Because you're done settling. And it shows. I exhaled slowly. The chatter around us blurred into background noise. My thoughts sharpened. The battlefield was mine now. Do I get to bring my own team? I asked. He smiled. You get to build it. I paused. I need 48 hours. 24. And a private office waiting. No pressure. We laughed, but he meant it. As I stood to leave, he added, by the way, Talos called me this morning. Aaron Wade's scouting. 2. You're the storm now. Mia, everyone's watching. I turned at the door, half amused. Then let them watch. After leaving the cafe, the city's usual noise felt distant, like I was watching from underwater. The offer from Nexus wasn't just an opportunity. It was a challenge to rethink everything I'd believed about loyalty, power, and self-worth. For 6 years, I'd lived under the weight of expectations, my own and others. I'd defined myself by the clients I saved, the deals I closed, the sleepless nights I endured. I was the fixer, the strategist, the loyal soldier in a company that, it turned out, was ready to discard me like yesterday's memo. The morning meeting in that sterile conference room replayed in my mind like a broken record. Grace's betrayal stung deeply, not because I expected loyalty from her, but because I had trusted her with my life. The email thread I accidentally uncovered made it clear. They saw me not as a person, but as an asset to be neutralized. That word, neutralized, echoed like a warning. I wasn't just demoted, I was erased. I walked the streets of Midtown, the towering glass buildings reflecting a version of myself I barely recognized. The woman in those reflections looked poised, composed, but inside, she was unraveling. But amidst the chaos, a seed of clarity began to grow. I was more than a job title or a salary number. More than a line on a spreadsheet. More than the asset. That morning, as I sat in my quiet apartment staring at the skyline, I realized the truth I'd been avoiding. I had been settling. Settling for scraps of recognition. For half-hearted praise. For the illusion of control in a corporate machine designed to chew up and spit out talent. Now, I had a choice. Keep fighting to regain a place in a system that didn't value me. Or step into the unknown and rewrite my own rules. I chose the latter. I opened my laptop again. This time not to send a resignation or plead for validation, but to chart a new course. I reached out to Derek Lynn, my former ally in client relations, and thanked him for his support. I asked for introductions, for opportunities to consult, to speak, to share what I knew. I tapped into every connection I had quietly built over the years. It was humbling and empowering all at once. Days later, as I met with Micah to discuss the formation of my new team at Nexus, I felt a shift inside me. No longer the fix-it woman scrambling to patch holes, but a leader with vision and agency. Do you want to lead with fear or with purpose? Micah asked, a hint of a smile tugging at his lips. I thought about the months of silence, the backstabbing, the betrayal disguised as strategy. I thought about the sleepless nights, the missed birthdays, the whispered office politics. I want to lead with purpose, I said, voice steady, eyes bright. Micah nodded approvingly. Good, because that's what will change the game. Building the team was unlike anything I'd done before. No more silent sacrifices. No more hiding. I sought out people who believed in trust and transparency, who valued the human behind the title. Among them were former colleagues who had quietly admired my work but felt trapped in their roles. Now, with Nexus's support, we were free to innovate, to challenge old hierarchies, to build genuine relationships with clients. Each meeting, each call, was a reminder of why I'd fought so hard in the first place. But with growth came reflection. One evening, as I sat alone in the office, I found myself scrolling through old emails, messages from clients thanking me. Stories of crisis averted, lives touched. I realized something profound. It wasn't the job title or the paycheck that mattered most. It was the impact, the difference I made in people's lives. I thought of my son's disappointed face last year, the missed birthday candles, the silent tears. I vowed then to be present, not just in meetings, but in life. The shift in perspective also made me reconsider grace, not just as a betrayer, but as someone caught in her own survival game. The corporate world breeds fear disguised as ambition. Sometimes, people are forced to choose sides not because they want to, but because the system demands it. When she finally reached out again, apologizing in that quiet email, I didn't reply, not out of anger, but because I no longer needed closure from her. Closure had come from within. The past was a chapter, not the whole story. I was ready for a new narrative. By the time I stepped into the Nexus lobby for my first official day as head of strategic partnerships, I wasn't just walking into a new role, I was stepping into my power. No grand ceremonies, no dramatic fanfare, just a quiet nod from the receptionist and the soft hum of possibility. Sitting at my new desk, I opened my laptop and typed my new email signature. Best, Mia Carter, Head of Strategic Partnerships. Mia.Carter@nexusgrowth.io. My calendar pinged softly, reminders of client calls with Petros, Rex Medical, Westfield, Solanova. They were still with me. Maybe not with Raven Analytics anymore, but with me. Later that afternoon, I found myself sitting in the school auditorium, the familiar scent of polished wood and construction paper surrounding me. My son scanned the audience with those curious eyes, and when he saw me there, fully present, he smiled, not because I was a director or a leader, but because for once, I was there. That tiny smile was worth every broken piece I'd left behind. I returned to my desk just before a Zoom call with 5 major clients. As the windows popped open, I felt calm but determined. I looked into the camera and greeted them. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's build something better, together. And we did. No revenge, no retaliation, just a new beginning, with the right people, in the right place, on my own terms. After the dust settled, the transition to Nexus felt less like a job change and more like a rebirth. The weight of betrayal, the sting of rejection, all still lingered, but beneath it was a steady flame of possibility. The opportunity before me was more than a new title or paycheck. It was a chance to shape something real. Something lasting. From day one, I knew I had to prove not just my worth, but the value of a different way of doing business, one rooted in trust, respect, and genuine connection. Nexus's clients weren't just accounts on a spreadsheet, they were people. Partners in a shared journey. That mindset was rare, but it was the key to transforming industries, rebuilding fractured relationships, and creating loyalty that outlasted contracts. The first few weeks were a whirlwind. I was building a team from scratch, handpicking strategists, analysts, and client advocates who shared my vision and my values. We weren't just employees, we were pioneers. Trailblazers setting a new standard for client management. One of my earliest hires was Lena, a former competitor who had watched my work from afar. She was sharp, intuitive, and unafraid to challenge the status quo. Together, we mapped out a strategy to engage clients not just as customers, but as collaborators. We developed quarterly innovation workshops, transparency reports, and feedback loops that gave clients real influence over how their accounts were managed. The results were almost immediate. Petros Corp, once skeptical about the transition, became one of our most enthusiastic partners. Their CEO, Mark Stanton, praised the personalized approach we brought. I didn't know client management could feel this human. He said in a call, "You've set a new bar. Mia, we're excited for what's next." Rex Medical followed suit, praising the clarity and responsiveness that had been missing in their previous experiences. But it wasn't just about client satisfaction. It was about creating a culture where people felt valued, from the frontline associates to the executive team. One afternoon, as I walked through the Nexus offices, I overheard a conversation between two junior associates discussing how empowered they felt to speak up and contribute ideas. Moments like that reminded me why this new path mattered. Yet, with opportunity came challenges. The shadow of my past with Raven Analytics still loomed. Some industry insiders whispered about the Mia Carter effect, the way clients followed me. The cracks appearing in Raven's facade. There were boardroom whispers and quiet warnings. Don't underestimate her. I welcomed it. Those whispers fueled me, sharpening my resolve. Nexus gave me autonomy, a rare gift in corporate America, but with it came responsibility. Every decision, every client interaction, every strategy session carried weight. There was no room for error. No safety net. I embraced the pressure. It was the proving ground I'd long needed. One particular challenge came when Westfield Global expressed concern over the recent transition. Their lead executive called me directly, voice edged with frustration. "We need assurance that this isn't just a personality-driven shift," she said. "Our business depends on stability." I listened, understanding that rebuilding trust meant more than words. It required consistent actions. I invited Westfield to participate in a bespoke client advisory panel, giving them a seat at the table to co-create solutions tailored to their needs. We scheduled monthly check-ins, transparent reporting, and collaborative planning sessions. Slowly, the tension eased. Westfield's renewed confidence wasn't just a win for Nexus, it was proof that authentic partnership could break down corporate barriers. Behind the scenes, I also faced internal hurdles. Some Nexus executives questioned my unorthodox approach, favoring tried and true methods over innovation. I had to navigate office politics carefully, balancing diplomacy with assertiveness. One late evening, I sat down with Micah and laid out a bold 5-year vision, a roadmap to grow Nexus's client partnerships division into an industry leader known for integrity and innovation. He listened intently, then nodded. "You're not just changing the game, Mia, you're rewriting the rulebook." That moment crystallized my mission. Outside work, my personal life began to heal. With a steadier schedule and fewer crises, I was finally present for my son in ways I hadn't been able to before. His smiles, his questions, his milestones no longer passed by in fleeting moments. One weekend, we built a treehouse together in our backyard, messy, imperfect, full of laughter and scraped knees. It was a reminder that success wasn't just about the boardroom. It was about being there for the people who mattered most. As the months unfolded, Nexus's client retention rates soared. Our team's reputation grew, attracting top talent eager to join a company where values aligned with vision. I was invited to speak at industry conferences, sharing insights about leadership, client trust, and the power of authenticity in business. Each keynote was a chance to inspire others who, like me, had been sidelined or underestimated. But perhaps the most rewarding part of this new chapter was the ripple effect. Junior associates reached out, thanking me for paving a path that showed resilience and integrity could coexist with ambition. One message from Ava Lynn, a junior I once mentored at Raven, stood out. "They're trying to rewrite the narrative, Mia, but we know the truth. Thank you for walking away with grace and reminding us that silence isn't surrender." Her words echoed in my mind during quiet moments, fueling my commitment to lead differently. Looking back, the betrayal, the losses, and the heartbreaks were painful but necessary. They stripped away illusions and forced me to reclaim my power on my own terms. Now, standing at the helm of Nexus's strategic partnerships, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. And the future? It was mine to build. In the months that followed, I discovered something I hadn't realized I was missing all along: the power of truly owning my story. The betrayal at Raven Analytics had stripped away everything I thought defined me. But it also cleared the way for something deeper. a chance to grow not just as a professional, but as a human being. I was no longer just Mia Carter, the fixer, the strategist, the relentless warrior who sacrificed everything for the company's bottom line. I was becoming Mia Carter, the leader who understood the value of balance, of vulnerability, and most importantly, of self-respect. The first sign of this growth came unexpectedly. During a team meeting in Nexus's glass-walled conference room, we were discussing a tough client issue, a major crisis with one of our legacy partners threatening to undo months of progress. Tensions ran high, and for a moment, I felt the old impulse to take control, to carry the weight alone. But then I caught myself. Instead of steamrolling through the problem, I asked my team for their input. I listened, really listened, to their ideas, their fears, their hopes. The energy in the room shifted. What could have been a battle became a collaborative breakthrough. That day, I realized that leadership wasn't about being the loudest or the strongest. It was about creating space for others to grow alongside you. I began to open up more, sharing stories of my own struggles, the moments of doubt and heartbreak I'd kept buried. It was scary, but the response was overwhelmingly positive. My team didn't see weakness, they saw authenticity. And it built trust. At home, this growth echoed in my relationship with my son. I was learning to be present, to listen without distractions, to celebrate the small moments. He noticed. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, he squeezed my hand and said, "Mom, you're different now, happier." That simple observation hit me harder than any boardroom win. Professionally, the change was palpable. Clients picked up on it, too. They weren't just doing business with a company. They were connecting with a person who cared, who understood the stakes not just in numbers, but in lives. One afternoon, Mark Stanton from Petros Corp called. His voice was warm. "Mia, we've never felt more confident in a partnership. You've redefined what client trust means." That kind of validation was more precious than any contract. But growth wasn't linear. There were setbacks, moments when old doubts crept in, when I wondered if I was strong enough, if the scars I carried would ever fade. During those times, I leaned on my new support system, a circle of mentors, colleagues, and friends who reminded me of my worth. One mentor, a seasoned executive named Claire, once told me, "Growth is messy, it's uncomfortable, but it's also where the magic happens." I took those words to heart. I invested time in personal development, workshops on emotional intelligence, leadership retreats, even therapy. These weren't just boxes to tick, they were lifelines helping me heal and evolve. At Nexus, I championed initiatives promoting mental health and work-life balance, determined to create a culture where no one had to sacrifice their well-being for success. I remembered all too well the nights spent alone, the missed family dinners, the quiet exhaustion masked by forced smiles. One project I'm particularly proud of was the Balance Forward program, offering flexible hours, wellness resources, and open forums for employees to share their stories without fear. It wasn't just policy, it was a movement toward humanity in the workplace. As my confidence grew, so did my influence. I found myself mentoring rising stars within Nexus, encouraging them to speak their truths and take ownership of their careers. One young analyst, Ava, reminded me of myself years ago, talented but hesitant to assert her voice. Watching her grow was a reminder that my journey wasn't just about me, it was about paving the way for others. Reflecting on my time at Raven Analytics, I no longer saw it as a period of loss, but as a crucible that forged my resilience. The betrayal, the silent meetings, the cold emails, they were painful, but they forced me to confront my worth outside of external validation. I learned to say no to toxic environments and yes to opportunities aligned with my values. More importantly, I learned to forgive, not just others, but myself. Forgive the mistakes I thought I made, the moments I doubted, the times I stayed silent. Growth was not perfection, it was progress. One morning, as I sipped coffee in my sunlit kitchen, I opened an email from Grace. Subject: "Thank you." Her words were simple, heartfelt. "Mia, watching your journey has been inspiring. I'm sorry for my part in the past. You've taught me more than you know about courage and integrity." I didn't reply. Not because I held a grudge, but because my silence now spoke louder than any words. I was at peace, standing on the balcony of my office later that day, overlooking the city skyline. I felt a quiet pride. Not for the deals closed or the clients won, but for the woman I had become. Stronger, wiser, whole, and ready for whatever came next. The sun was just beginning to set, casting a warm golden glow over the city skyline as I sat at my desk, reflecting on the journey that had brought me here. From the sharp sting of betrayal at Raven Analytics to the empowering dawn of my new role at Nexus. Every twist and turn had carved me into someone I barely recognized, and yet, someone I was proud to be. That afternoon, as I prepared for a video call with key clients, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: calm confidence. Not the brittle kind that hides fear beneath a polished surface, but a deep, steady assurance born from hard-won lessons and unshakable self-belief. As the call connected and familiar faces appeared, I greeted them with warmth and clarity. Good afternoon, everyone. Today isn't just about business, it's about partnership, trust, and building something better together. Their nods and smiles weren't just polite, they were genuine. The foundations we had laid were solid, rooted in respect and authenticity. But this moment wasn't just about professional success. It was personal triumph. I thought about my son, sitting in his classroom, knowing that I was there for him, truly there, not distracted or exhausted. That smile he gave me at the school auditorium, the simple joy of presence, was worth every sleepless night and heartbreak. Life had taught me that success without fulfillment was hollow, that power without integrity was fragile, and that true leadership meant lifting others up, not just climbing higher oneself. A few weeks later, I stood on a stage at an industry conference, the spotlight warm against my skin. The room was filled with professionals hungry for change, for stories of resilience and reinvention. I shared my story, not as a tale of victimhood or revenge, but as a testament to the strength found in reclaiming your narrative. The moments when you feel most broken, I told them, are often the very moments that redefine your power. When the world tries to erase you, that's when you have the choice to write your own story. The applause that followed was more than appreciation, it was recognition of a shared experience. A collective hope. Backstage, a young woman approached me, eyes shining. Your story gave me the courage to leave a toxic job and start fresh. She said softly, "Thank you." Her words reminded me why I fought so hard to be heard, so others wouldn't have to suffer in silence. In the months that followed, the ripple effect of that speech and my work at Nexus grew. I was invited to mentor women leaders, to participate in panels about ethical leadership, and to contribute to initiatives promoting diversity and inclusion. Every opportunity was a chance to amplify a message I believed in deeply: that strength and vulnerability coexist. And that integrity in business is not just idealistic, it's essential. Yet, even amidst the momentum, I stayed grounded. Every morning, I took time for reflection, journaling, meditation, and moments of gratitude. I reminded myself that growth was ongoing, not a destination, and I never forgot the lessons carved into my soul during those dark days at Raven Analytics. One quiet evening, as I closed my laptop after a productive day, I received an unexpected email from Grace. Subject: from one soul to another. Her message was raw, honest. "Mia, I've spent months reflecting on my choices and the consequences they brought. Watching you rise with grace and purpose has been humbling. I'm proud of the leader you've become, and I hope one day we can rebuild trust, not just as colleagues, but as people." I smiled softly. Some wounds take time to heal, but forgiveness, of others and ourselves, is the bridge to freedom. I didn't reply immediately. Instead, I let the moment settle, knowing that when the time was right, words would come, because my story was no longer about fighting shadows or seeking approval. It was about creating light, for myself and those who followed. Looking out at the city lights twinkling through my office window, I felt a profound sense of peace. I had learned that true power isn't in control or conquest, but in authenticity, resilience, and the courage to start anew. And with that, I was ready. Ready to lead. Ready to inspire. Ready to build a future where people matter more than profits. Where trust is currency, and where every voice, especially those once silenced, could rise. If you're watching this and feeling stuck, betrayed, or erased, know this: your next chapter is waiting. Not defined by what you lost, but by the strength you find within. It's not about revenge, it's about rebirth, and it starts with a single step. So take it, you are not alone. And your story, just like mine, can change everything. The hardest battles often teach us the most valuable lessons. Mia's journey reminds us that loyalty alone is not always enough in the corporate world. Sometimes, systems fail to recognize true value and sacrifice. But within that failure lies the opportunity to reclaim your power, redefine your worth, and rewrite your story on your own terms. True strength comes not from clinging to what no longer serves you, but from having the courage to walk away, not in anger or revenge, but with clarity and purpose. It's about understanding that your value is not dictated by a job title, a paycheck, or someone else's approval, but by your integrity, resilience, and the impact you make. Mia's story teaches us that setbacks can be the catalyst for growth and transformation. When one door closes, it paves the way for new opportunities that align better with your values and vision. And when you lead with authenticity and trust, you inspire others to do the same. Thank you for choosing to listen to this story among thousands of stories out there. Like and subscribe to continue listening to the latest stories.